I know.
I'm pointing.
I don't
We're
have
here.
glasses on.
Well, you know what, ladies? I have to say, we all look very fab. How
Yes.
do we all feel?
Comfy.
Comfy. That's great to know.
So comfortable.
Well, special thanks to Judy, who's got the cookies here, and her partner, Cher, who is like, I think, hiding somewhere. Somewhere.
Working hard.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah.
Someone has to work.
So, thank you. So, this is called Gravity.
It is amazing.
It's
Yes.
amazing how we feel lighter, less
So
gravity here, right?
comfortable.
Yes? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I think we all look so
Long-time
amazing.
fan of Gravity. Yes.
Well, I'm
Yes.
going to just pop in and I'm going to hand you girls these little goodies.
Little
And
sweet
Susie,
treats.
I'm going to ask if you can hand me that little goodie beside you.
This is the cutest thing
It
I've
is.
ever
It's a
seen.
I'm
I
excited
love
to
it.
see
It
what's
is a
inside.
purse.
What is it?
It's called Cupcase, and for anybody who travels a lot, this is a wonderful little case for your bras. So you can fit.
Oh.
You can fit probably up to 3 or 4 bras in here. Sometimes you can stick your panties in there, any jewelry,
I love
zip it
it.
up, and then squish it into the bottom of your suitcase and forget about it.
Genius.
It won't wrack
That
any
is
molded cups
perfect.
or
the
anything.
best.
You
I
should
think
take that in your
put it on
carry-on.
Yeah.
I know,
Yes.
I know.
Right?
Some
You
make
don't
ones
want to
right.
punch them in. So that works for
Okay.
even swim tops. So it works out really
I
well.
love
They
it.
come in a couple different sizes, so they
Fabulous.
are for everybody. So enjoy. I'm going to get you girls some more Prosecco and
Thank
enjoy your
you.
time here.
Before you go,
Yeah.
I think that the fact that it's leopard
Yeah.
makes it so much hotter.
Very
So
much a
much
selling
hotter.
point.
There are a variety of colors as well. So one for
love it.
everybody.
Awesome.
Enjoy your
Nice.
time.
Thank you. My goodness. Well, I mean,
Today we should actually cheers.
cheers. Yeah, today's.
It's the first day of school. I'm just like, yeah, give me the Prosecco. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh yeah. So, is it not kind of amazing, Mother Nature too? Like, the last week of August, boom, and now here we are in September.
No.
It's
It's flown by.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
Makes me
already
sad.
like, oh my goodness, it's 2019. It's 2019.
No. no.
How adorable were every post about kids
Yes.
Oh.
going to school. So I don't know where I was today. I think I was just between things, and someone was telling me that, oh, I had a client come in, and she was just like, my kid wouldn't even let me walk her to the door, and I
Oh.
walked
I
her
know.
every year.
Aw.
But it's hard as they
Yeah.
grow older. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have kids, but I always say this. I'm assuming though, right?
I love all the pictures. Mine,
They're
anybody
beautiful.
else's.
I
I
love
love
them.
them. My
I
friends
love
in the
them.
States who start earlier, I
Yeah.
love watching theirs, from the last couple of weeks. And then these ones, I love them all. Because you look and see how much they've all grown, too, over the summer.
So it's interesting then. Okay, so what grade were you most looking forward to?
Ooh.
Double digits. So what grade? I think
10?
grade 6. No. No.
what
When
age?
As
age?
in,
Gotcha.
yeah. So
Oh,
I was
so-
probably
yeah.
grade 6 or grade 10 for me.
Why?
You know what? I was in Oakbank, so I was back in like Springfield. So there's something about it. Like
Yeah.
it was just
Different
it was like
school,
the
a new
big
school?
school.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was like
yeah.
with the big kids, and
Yeah.
there was like this anticipation that at some point you're going to be the biggest kids in the school, and you're going to be the bosses.
That's so
I
true.
kept seeing my kids. I was this height in grade 6, so it was all downhill.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Like watching all the kids grow over the summer, I'm just like, yeah, I was
I'm
this
still
size.
here. I think grade 12 was the best year.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yes.
hands down.
Like
Yeah.
overall, I was grad chair. I was, you know what I mean? So all of that
You
kind
don't
of stuff.
say.
That's surprising.
I know, and she was a valedictorian. And,
I was in the running. I didn't make it, but I was grad chair.
I was just glad that
no.
it was going to be over. Like that I was going to get to be a grown up, you know, and like go and do grown up things. And I didn't realize what that meant. But
Adulting.
Yes.
as we
Yes.
put it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now we'd like to
know.
go back in time
Right.
and not be at
What
all.
about for you?
I think grade 10.
Yeah.
For me, and I think too because you're in high school, and there's a lot of trepidation too, a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
But then you're just with so many other people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
And do you feel like your social circle expands when you hit high school? Like you just meet so many more people from
Yes.
all over the city and stuff like that? I feel that way too. Like especially with driver's ed. And,
Oh, yeah.
once
Yeah.
you get your
Yeah.
license, maybe you start to work and then you really start to get out there and,
Well, and if you
expand.
played sports like I did,
Yeah.
like you get to know everyone, and these relationships are still there to this
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Where like I can't go out and it's not one of like the basketball guys or the, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like the basketball girls, and that's how you knew them.
Fun.
I know.
And for provincials, I played provincials and all of that too, and so a lot of those connections are great from
Yeah.
those high school years.
I feel like for us in the country, and I think that hopefully there's some country folks who are watching this.
Yeah.
That we actually just have the same elementary, and we travel the same to junior high, and we're all the same for high
okay.
school.
I know, yeah.
So for me, and I think I've mentioned my girlfriends from high school, you know, and you know, those friendships to this day are my. Like they're my core, like
Yeah.
they're everything to me. We have our group chats. Literally, we talk all day. After 30-something years, I mean, like I'm 40. I turned 41 this year.
And that's
But
so
but
beautiful.
those are some really cool things. Just I mean, I feel like country versus the city is always so different because the relationships are just so different.
Yes.
They're
yeah.
so different. It's so truly like a family relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because there's nobody interfering. But I would hate to be the new kid
Oh.
in a country school.
Trying to come into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You know,
Is it
so
still bad though?
I don't know. You know, I mean, I've been out for a while, but I would hope not. I would hope people would be more open to it. But I know that in our schools, like, if you were the new kid, there were some eyes on you. There were some eyes on you. So, but I think it's a different time, and I think with social media, we're much more. You see different kinds of people, and you see. So maybe that has kind of taken away that novelty of the new kid in rural Manitoba.
But I don't know because I'm older. But back in my day, it was predominantly Anglo-Saxon, white
let's.
kids.
I was literally the
So,
only.
you
the
were out. You always
only-
stuck out. Like
Yeah.
you know,
the
you always
only,
stuck out. Yeah.
You know, and I'm okay to call myself a brown girl. I was the only brown girl in that school. But I think that I, sitting here today, deserve to give Anola, Oakbank, Springfield Collegiate a
Yes.
shout out because did they ever take care of me?
Wow.
Aw.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's
And I
great.
believe it shaped who I
Yeah.
was in the future because, you know, like they took care of me. I was definitely the only Muslim in the crew.
Wow.
I used to go to parties and they'd be like, "Well, no pork for her," like
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was such a beautiful time, you know, and people were so caring and they were so generous with. You know, and they were so protective of me. But I feel like that's carried on even to this day. So
Well, it's interesting that you give kudos because I guess, you know, I really want to say thank you to my high school, Dakota Collegiate, because at the time I was dancing with Royal Winnipeg Ballet and I was the only student that they ever allowed to train part-time and then pick up your classes.
Wow.
So I would
amazing.
dance from 6 in the morning, get to school like at around 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, stay till 2, and then go back to training. And then also, you know, thanks to my friends and great circle of people that supported me. So it was like getting your assignments and okay,
making sure that
whatever.
you're covered.
Yeah. And then I was, you know, I was up to me to keep my grades up. So, but I mean, it was kudos or thank you very much for allowing them to do that in my young part of my career that allowed me to eventually become a professional dancer with the company.
Amazing.
So if you had a teacher, I mean, look at
Oh, I
I
know.
think
Yeah.
okay. So
Favorite
I
teacher talk.
believe we have to. It's the first day of school. We can't
Yes.
help but to
Yeah.
go down this line of conversation.
I know.
So my sister's a teacher. We all know teachers, and I think we should give a big shout out
Yes.
to all the teachers who are
Love
working so
teachers.
hard.
Yes.
They take care of the babies. You know,
Yes.
they deal with
Well, I
so
know.
much, and
Yeah.
it's a very difficult job.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
watched
hard.
totally, and I watched my sister and her husband, and it is incredible the kind of work they
think
do.
teachers, you know, when you were saying that, I automatically thought of Jody Sampson from Acadia Junior High.
You went to Acadia?
I sure did.
My sister went to Acadia.
And she and her husband were our basketball coaches. She was my phys ed teacher, but they were like second parents to me. When my mom was first, you know, diagnosed, and she was going through some things when I was in maybe about grade 9, they were huge at helping to support me in extracurricular basketball. They were amazing as far as just making sure that like I played provincials and that there was no opportunities that I didn't get to have. And to this day, you know, one of the girls that I coach, that they also coach, she just got married this past weekend, and they were at her wedding, and it was just such a great thing because you realize that those relationships get fostered so much more, and we take those relationships for granted sometimes.
At the time, yeah.
You know what I mean? Not always, but
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
where it's like, wow, I really could look back on each of my teachers and remember something amazing about them that they did impart into me and help shape us into who we are today.
Totally.
So, you know, from St. Avila to Acadia to Fort Richmond, I'm giving a major shout out. I love all of my teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
so funny, and it's crazy how things just play out. So a few days ago, I was at the keg with some clients, and the table right next to me. So I walk in, and we're all talking business, and this guy kind of leans over, and he's just like, Rana? I'm just like, hi. And I thought it was a political thing. I thought somebody who recognized me and was just wanted to kind of be like, hey, what's up? But it was my gym teacher from high school, Mr. Gooding. And he was sitting there with his with his son, the son's fiance, and then both the husband and wife. So,
Nice.
so it's full circle, you know. Like he recognized me, he gave me a big hug. He was like,
Do you ever
you
get
know,
the thing where your teachers like send like cut out clippings of you in the paper and stuff? They're just like, this was so wonderful. Oh, I still get that from some of my teachers. Yeah.
I had emails during
Nice.
politics
Yes.
of teachers who were just like, when I was just kind of in that realm where they're like, you know what, we're so proud of you and you keep doing your thing. But again, like it matters to them, right? Like
does.
they
No, it does,
invest a lot of their time, their effort, and their emotion into these
Yeah.
students. So
Yeah.
again, I think it's a huge shout out. My favorite, I think it was, I have a list of them, but I think from kindergarten, Miss Knott. And then I think my gym teacher, Mr. Gooding, was awesome. And then I think Mr. Zuck was my bio teacher. And that was like when I wanted to go through med. So I was like, oh, tell me everything you know, please. And then I obviously
Dr.
changed.
Rana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so those were my three, definitely. Hands down.
What about you,
great.
Susie?
Well, I went to school down the street here at St. Mary's from grade 7 to grade 12, and brand new school, all girls. It was very scary, but I never thought to be scared. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And never thought that I had any other choice because I didn't think I could question my parents on what they said I was going to go do. So that was just like, this is what you're going to go do. And it's like, okay, that's fine with me.
Guess I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the experience. It was such a wonderful school, and I'm like you said, still friends with a lot of the girls I went to school with. We text
Wow,
every
that's
day.
very,
you know, like
very
there's no
close.
there's
Yeah.
no like high school reunion thing because it's just like with Facebook now. It's just
You
like,
see
well,
everybody
we're all in
online.
touch, and I know what your kids look like and what they're up to and this and that.
So interesting then, because you have a daughter. Will she go to St. Mary's?
That's the plan, I think, and
Yeah.
especially with her fiery, independent spirit,
Yes.
it seems like it might
she's
be
a
a good
beauty.
place for
She's
her.
a beauty.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that you get out what you put in, right? And it's not for
Right.
everybody, but I really enjoyed it, and it was great to grow up with strong, independent women who were not afraid to say what they think and who weren't told that they couldn't go for computer science or physics or
yeah.
chemistry or
Yeah.
not that I did. I wasn't inclined that way,
Yeah.
but those who were
had the
absolutely
option.
were encouraged. Absolutely. So I think that's really cool.
That's
And
super cool.
my kids who were getting new teachers this year, they're just like, oh, I'm scared of this teacher and that teacher. And I can remember in grade
Oh, that
9
feeling.
getting the letter of who we were going to have that year, and all my girlfriends being, we're on the phone, oh, she's so scary, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
And she turned out to be the
best.
best teacher
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mrs.
That's always
Coutu, big shout out to Mrs.
Yeah.
Coutu. She was amazing. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things where you were afraid of her, but because she was tough, but she was
respected
tough
her.
because she knew that you
Cared.
could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. And it was an
tough
interesting
love.
lesson for a teenager. It's just like, but she's not being tough to be mean to you.
Yeah.
She's doing it to bring out the best
Yeah.
in you.
Character
I'm
building.
having such flashbacks.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I know, and every grade comes back, right? You
Yeah.
know, and I guess, you know, just memory-wise, you always remember your high school teachers because they were the last ones to sort of,
Yeah.
for you to see. But, you know, kindergarten, you mentioned kindergarten.
I remember
So
elementary
many.
so much
Yeah.
because in NOLA Elementary at the time we had
Oh, they
huts.
don't. Yeah.
We had huts, so we had
Whoa.
huts A, B, C, and D, and everyone always wanted to be in hut C. Like that was the
Hut C.
cool hut to be. Mr. Morris was in hut C. You know what? There's so many people. You flip back to it and just we're talking about it. It's so nostalgic, right? Like it's so cool.
I think you just gain so much appreciation again for the amount of work because it's kind of like daycare, right? Like
Well, it is.
You have to be everything.
you have to
Yes.
be everything, but I mean, your kids, I worked in daycare for a very long time when I was younger.
yeah.
And, you know, at the end of the day, it's like you spend 8 sometimes plus hours with those kids every single day while their parents go to work and entrust you with their prized possession. And so just a huge shout out to teachers, administration, you know, for leading those little lives and taking care of them. And in today's day and age, it's
a lot
way
to take
crazier.
care of.
hard.
Yeah.
So how important is education? I mean, we think it is, but and for a lot of countries or a lot of people, education is a privilege.
Absolutely.
Education is totally changing. If you look at sex
Education for girls.
sex education.
Yeah, Ontario's having a huge battle with that, right?
I know. Like, I mean, a system that is like archaic or at least hasn't progressed
Hasn't
to
caught up.
caught up,
Right.
and you're still teaching it. And these kids know way
more than you think you're going to teach them.
Way more.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, you know, to kind of segue into how beautiful we look.
You beat me to it.
You know, I think that, you know, when we look at sex education in school and when we look at what the internet teaches, you know, and I think that, you know, we're here depicting like what good sexuality is and how it is to own it and how it is to embrace it and feel empowered and not have to feel slutty or, you know, exposed, you know, to feel confident and good in your own skin, right?
And teaching body positivity and
totally.
even areas around consent. Like I have talked to my kids about all of those things since they were 2 and 3 years old. And I've been tweeting about this since that whole decision came out, is that sexual education is about knowledge, and knowledge is power. And we live in a society where women are not supposed to have sexual knowledge or power because they want to keep us dumb. And they want to keep kids dumb too. If you teach kids about consent, boundaries, what is allowed, that they can say no at any time, they have agency over their person at all times, you are empowering an entire generation to understand that sexual assault is wrong. What's wrong with that, right? We cannot continue to live under this this sexual cloud that people are confused by what yes means and what no means. So children understanding from a very young age what their body parts are named, what they can do with their own body, and even when they're with somebody else, giving someone a hug, even at kindergarten, you can learn to say yes or no to that. All of those things are very important lessons and all age appropriate that I think every child should be empowered and have.
Absolutely. And I think you're never too old to also get that re-education.
Absolutely.
Never.
On
I think
deciding-
it's continuous
still
education.
learning.
We're also
Yes.
learning. And as
continuous.
you evolve as a woman or a man, whatever, you know, but as you evolve as a person, you really realize like what I deemed as acceptable at one stage of my life is not necessarily what I deem as acceptable now. And maybe I was okay with, I'm a big personality. I love hugging, but I've learned I went to a professional event, and I actually had somebody like comment on my physique, and I was really disappointed in his behavior. And I said, you know, maybe outside of here I wouldn't have cared as much, but I'm here for my brain, not for my body. And so, you know, really realizing that we're in a day and age where, you know, young girls are being pushed for the validation of their body and not always their brain. And that's through social media if we look at it,
Selfie,
you know.
selfie.
Well, selfie, but you're also half naked half the time, right? And if it's about getting an award, you don't get as many likes. Or if it's about, you know, something scholastic, you don't get as many likes. It's family and friends who will praise you, but you have all of these eyes on you that intimately know you without knowing you, right? And why are we showcasing that? And so I think, you know, even looking at all of us today when we were in the fitting rooms and stuff like that, like we went through a decision-making process for ourselves.
Right.
As far as what are we comfortable in wearing? What fits right for us? What, you know, the stylist side of me is coming out, but you know, what fits right? What feels good? What can I walk out and confidently feel like I can own? And like what
That this represents me.
Absolutely. And what I love about like Judy and Sherry is that they're so easygoing, and it's like whatever you're good with, but if you're ready to go outside those bounds, like we could go there. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And I think that we, you know, from a customer service place, like you can't get that at any of the big box stores. You know?
I literally have no idea how they pick a bra and they send it to the room and I hunt far and wide for one that fits, and then she has me one that just fits.
Yeah. Magic. Yeah.
It's magic.
But that is, I mean, again, so just, I guess, just kind of segueing into like body, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know how hard it is to find bras that fit somebody
Well, it's
who is
not
small.
hard to find. It's right
Apparently
here.
it's
It's right
easy.
here. It's
So,
very
but you gotta,
easy.
but
Yeah.
you got, but I've never, you know, like you
Yeah.
come in once in a while, but you gotta really trust in them.
Yeah.
And you gotta trust in their expertise
And get
let
fitted
them
by a-
do.
by a
and get
professional.
get
Yeah.
fitted by a professional.
I want to ask you
makes
guys a
sense.
question, and this is like a self-worth question, because I think coming into a boutique, this is what it is, a boutique shop. You know, a lot of women sometimes don't feel like they're worth, right? We're talking about kids, back to school, all the investments we need to make into our children right now and everything like that. And then, well, there's never time for us or to spend money on us. And just because we don't have kids, I'm a bonus parent, doesn't mean that like you know, what
I
mean?
still
we
struggle with
spend
it. I
money,
still
right?
struggle with it, yeah.
But how do we kind of rationale that? Like, you know, there's things in here today that I'm like, yeah, I need
I
new
want
bras,
all
I
of
need
it.
all of this. You know, I need to save for that,
Yeah.
whatever. But you know, how do you guys kind of rationale? Like, should I spend the money on myself?
Or should it be
Or
like
should
a
I,
kid's
you know, there's other
of some
responsibilities that I need
kind,
to
or-
take care of.
Yep.
But also, and you know, with your undergarments and stuff like that, we don't always think that it's super important.
Oh,
but
I
your
do.
confidence, but your confidence
Well,
starts
Yeah.
from your undergarments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
But I
know.
just, especially too, because like you were saying, if you are not the kind of person that can go into a regular
Yeah, you
mall
can't buy off
store
the rack.
Yeah.
and can't buy off the rack, you need to come to a specialty place to get fitted.
Right.
So I started that in my life probably after I had my first baby, actually, because of course after you get pregnant, you're nursing, your breasts change,
yeah.
sizes change, all kinds of stuff, whether you're postpartum or post weaning, right? All that stuff. And the difference between night and day of the bra that I got was incredible.
Yeah.
And I can remember my public health nurse coming to me and saying to me, can I see your nursing bra? And I was like, sure. I bought it at like Kmart when Kmart was still
Oh my
around.
God, Kmart.
And I bring out this bra, and she looks at me and she's like, oh honey, she's like, that's not gonna work. And I'm like, really? And she's like, no. She says, you need support. She says,
Yeah.
you need to go to a specialty shop.
Yeah.
They will fit you and they will put you in a proper bra so that you'll feel comfortable when you're nursing.
Yeah.
You can open and nurse baby and then feel good still. And I'm like,
Good, that's
okay.
good, that's good.
And she wasn't saying it to be mean. She
No.
was saying it to give me some help and
Yeah,
some
it's-
advice.
it's
Like, been there,
education.
done that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
education, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then when it comes to actually keeping up on that, I'm always about quality versus
Yeah,
quantity, right?
yeah, for
So
sure.
you can have 4 or 5 crappy items of clothing that are not going to last you 20 years, or you can buy the investment piece that is classic, timeless,
Absolutely.
and will last you.
Absolutely.
I'm that person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I really learned that at a young age when I
Because
first
you waste
started.
money when you do it the first way.
Well, but I also worked at a really nice retail store
Mm-hmm.
that was totally focused on customer service. Going in there today is not the same. Things have changed in the past 6 years, but you realize that, you know what, you can easily put out, you know, $100 on a pair of pants, let's say, right? Or you can go to a different kind of store, right? Purchase pants for 20 bucks,
Yeah.
but you're gonna buy those pants 5 times over,
Right.
Yeah.
instead of just making the investment the first time. And I think that, you know, your
see,
bras
yeah,
and
same
everything like that
thing.
are
Yeah.
just
Same
like
idea.
And
that.
investment doesn't have to be expensive,
No.
but it means that you're, because there's a sale rack here where you
Yep.
can get, I think I see bras for $35 over there, which is
Yeah,
perfect.
$39.99.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And, you know,
And the one I'm wearing,
That's
actually, I think
great.
it's an under 40 bra, and I
Yeah.
like just coming
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think too, like having worked retail, I totally get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have been that person who's just like, well, this brand is actually, this
Yeah.
is why it's priced this way, because it has that much
Exactly.
more
Better
quality,
quality.
Yep.
that much better fabric, that much better
Product
stitching.
knowledge,
you know,
right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I just find that a lot of times when you go into like a mall store, you know, not hating on the mall, love them. However, you know, like I think we're all business owners, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I believe in shopping local. I believe in, you know, going into those women-owned businesses and giving back, but also that service that you get back, right? You work really hard for your money, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work a corporate job or you work wherever. So when you're taking your dollars somewhere, you want to make sure that you're spending it somewhere, one, that you're going to get impeccable service,
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
huge on that. 2, where you're going to get great quality.
Right.
And 3, degree where you want to come back, and like it's always an experience at Gravity, right?
Oh,
you come in, you get your prosecco. What do you want? You feel like you're at home trying something
It was
on.
my
know.
first time.
Yeah, I know.
Have a bra I'm gonna go home with. It's a color that I love.
Yeah.
I walked
This
in
is
and
what-
remembered what I bought last time, and I'm just like, how did
Yeah.
you do
See,
that?
but then that's like what Dee said. This
Yeah.
is all
Yeah.
service. So
Yeah.
I know, like even when you walk in here, and even when
Yeah.
I asked, hey, with this, let's put a little edge. I would like to see everybody's personality come out. And,
Yes.
But you know what? Would you do a photo shoot? I mean,
Absolutely.
we're on video
She's
or
just like,
camera.
yeah,
now.
totally.
Wearing what I'm wearing, yeah.
I've
But
done
that's-
one
but-
before.
but
Yeah.
You have.
With
You've
push-ups
done
to
push-ups.
pillows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but those were just for my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Still,
but-
it was
but-
fun.
Yeah,
You
but
find
yeah.
your comfort though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm very comfortable in what I'm wearing. I don't
Yes.
feel like I'm overly,
Sexified
Well,
or-
no, I feel good. Like I feel like
And
it's
you can feel good
something-
whatever you
whatever
want
wear.
to do.
you know?
Exactly.
I mean, I
That's
could
why-
have pulled over there some plaid pajamas, and I still would have been like, it's kind of the mood I'm in today.
But
Yeah.
then that's why
And that's all-
everybody said, like, wow,
Yeah.
you look great, you look
Yeah.
great, you look great, because you feel great
Feel great,
inside.
Right.
So where is that point where do you draw the line? Because we're going back to social media and now pictures of usually young women,
Yeah.
scantily clad,
Yeah.
and like some
So I was-
some pictures is like
Yes.
where's your head at?
So I was just telling the story there when we were getting changed over there about the councilwoman who was running
yes.
in Sonoma County in California, who received a malicious email saying that they were going to release a website full of racy pictures of her if she didn't drop out of the race. And she was
Wow.
just like, oh, hell no, we're not having that. So she went and made a YouTube video and said, I've received this malicious message, and I've been basically blackmailed and
Blackmailed.
extortion to get out of this political race, which I'm not doing. She says, because I refuse to be shamed for anything that I've done. She says, I own everything I do,
Yeah,
and if
good.
you think that you can use my femalehood to put me in a position
love
of
that.
shame
Oh,
and to
wow.
make me
Yes.
feel bad about myself, she goes, you're wrong. I'm staying.
Yeah.
Release the website. Don't care, she
Yeah.
basically said. So
probably get her more
take
votes.
the
No.
pin and stick it in someone's balloon
Yeah.
who's trying to,
Yeah.
put you in that corner and make you feel bad.
But I
that's
think
a
that-
terrible thing.
I
And I think
think
it's great
it
that
is a
women are finally
terrible
standing up and
thing.
going, not
It is
having
a
it.
terrible
I think we
thing. It's
need
hard
more
to-
of that, right? But this kind of ties into that whole guilt, shame,
Yes.
regret. That I would say in our younger years, we're figuring out who we are. We're figuring out, not everybody has morals when we're young, or we know better and don't do better,
or don't do better.
or
Right.
you just
Or
want to have
you're
fun.
essentially just being peer pressured because
Yeah.
people.
well, I know.
And I
bullying.
think, like she said, it's about the thought process and the decision of
That's
whose it was.
exactly.
Right? It was her decision to do it.
Absolutely.
And her decision to post the
the
pictures.
ownership
Yeah.
the ownership piece though, right? Like I know for myself, when I was rebranding myself a few years ago, I totally took all of my pictures off of Facebook. I deleted them. There's one I can't get rid of, whatever, but I'm like, it's okay. But then there's Shayna as the image consultant and everything that she does with Rebrand You, and it's never about saying that who you were or the decisions that you made were wrong. It's never about that, but it's about evolving as someone. And so I think, your initial question was, how do we kind of decide what that line is? And that line comes from, one, who you are. You need to know who you are and what you stand up for. And just like that councilwoman, what are you willing to stand up for, and what are you willing to be like, maybe I need to back up from that. And so I think in this day and age, we're not empowering, and I'm going to go totally, feminist here, but we're not empowering, young women to really have that voice anymore, which is,
And I think we are.
I think it goes both ways. I think
I don't
you'll
know if
get
they're listening, but I think that it's out there more than ever.
I
I think
can
it might be
agree
just
with
hard
that.
to hear though.
But I think
It's like a
it's
hard pill to
clouded
swallow.
Yeah, it's a
between
hard pill
like
to swallow.
this selfie of me half naked could get like this many likes, and if it's an accomplishment, then I'm really not going to get
Okay,
recognized.
so second thing that I came across on the internet this week was a woman. I wish I could remember her name. My apologies to her, but she's an actress and well-known speaker, and she was talking about how the Kardashians are double agents for the patriarchy, and it was a fascinating interview talking about how they present one type of womanhood and femininity that we are supposed to embrace, when really all it's doing is perpetuating patriarchal myths. And it's just like, okay, so that I can get behind, because I don't have a problem with Kim or anybody posing naked or whatever it is. Again, whatever you
are
want to
comfortable
do.
with. Yeah.
And they're clearly very comfortable with it.
But
Yes.
like you said,
Yeah.
when are we going to switch it
Yeah.
to be the scholarly focus,
Yeah.
to take the sex and beauty focus out of it and turn it into what she accomplished as a NASA scientist, or what
I think it's coming though.
those kind of
I
things.
see it often, but I think at the core of it, we're talking about issues of identity.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've talked about this in a previous episode where I was just like, if you don't know who you are, and if you don't know where you come from, and if you don't know what you're about, and if you don't know why you believe the things that you do, or why, be critical, right? Like if you start asking those critical questions about who am I, what am I about, what's the reason that I've chosen.
And that was the second piece of what she said, is that we cannot have feminism without criticism.
No.
Because otherwise we are just slipping back into what we've
Okay, you
always
guys
done.
open the vault. You open the vault. You open the vault.
Maybe we should get our comfy clothes on. It's just like you're on his rant. Yeah. Oh my God.
No, but I think that, like, who's feminism, right? Like, I think that there's a difference between, I still struggle with just mainstream feminism. I don't know how much I appreciate our Prime Minister coming out and calling himself a feminist. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because you are a very privileged human being. Do you really know what it feels like to be a colored woman of a minority, whether it's religion, whether it's gender, whether it's I don't know how I feel about that. And I appreciate the fact that you can come out and make it a mainstream thing, but I think that there's that intersectional concept of feminism that I think needs to be probably the leading conversations, because those are the most vulnerable people, and everyone else should be leading. That's my 2 cents about it. I've spoken about it across the country. I openly think that is the proper way, because if you're not going to listen to the most vulnerable, which will always be
The marginalized.
those, the marginalized, it doesn't mean the other one, it doesn't mean that someone else doesn't matter, but it means like, whose conversation are we following? Who's the leader of this conversation, right? And if the conversation is by someone who's way up here in every aspect anyways, that doesn't really recognize what the indigenous population
What the
is
struggles
dealing
are
with,
of the
what the
marginalized,
actual marginalized. So I just think that conversation needs to be flipped, and that's kind of why
And I think that's
really
the purpose
hesitate.
of intersectional
Well, that's
feminism, right?
that is.
Yes.
That's the reason why, and
Yes.
that's why I advocate for it. Like to the extent, like I was in Edmonton a few months back, and I was like,
So is
because
it
somebody
really-
asked me directly. They're like, "Well, what do you think of this?" And I was like, "Well,
So does it really just boil down to just plain old listening instead of yakking?
I think that's a lot.
I think it's both sides of what we've discussed today, which is one, you have to get to know yourself and listen to yourself, right? Then the other side of it is you have to be open and willing to listen to others, and just listen for the sake of listening. Like, not to, every time that I'm here and we have a new episode, I learn something new, and I respect each one of you guys for your viewpoint, and I think that's what makes this so beautiful, right? Is because I don't have to be well versed in every single area of something, but I need to at least respect each one of you guys enough to hear what you're saying, listen, digest it.
yeah,
Right?
Actually listen for the sake of listening, not to answer, right?
Yes.
Which I think is, I've been very focused on trying to do that, to just and just listen for
Well,
listening.
and then go back and also do your research on something. If you don't know and you want to be part of the conversation, which I think everybody should be, go and figure out what your viewpoint is and why that's your viewpoint, and what you can bring to the table on the conversation. And even if it's just being there as a supporter or non-supporter or neutral, that's okay as well. You have a voice in all of those three lanes, but you get to decide, right? I think it's, again, bringing it back full circle to education. It is about being educated on topics, educated on yourself, educated on what's important to you in our community.
One of the things that's really important to me is that when I hear somebody say something that's, somewhat controversial or somewhat negative, whatever, I always say, why do you feel that way? Right? And they just say, well, it's just the way I feel.
Right.
And I say,
Be willing
okay,
to challenge it.
but what about your belief system or personhood is being threatened that you feel this way?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, for example, if you say, trans women aren't real women, which is a huge thing in the intersectional feminism.
Yeah.
And I can think to myself, probably 15 years ago, I might not have had the same answer.
Right.
But I've become educated.
Yeah.
I've met people. I've
Right.
had empathy with people and thought to myself, oh, well, this makes sense now,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's what we have to do, is that things change, things evolve.
Absolutely.
And we need to re-examine how we came to a conclusion.
How we came to that
Why we
conclusion.
came there. And are we still comfortable with that conclusion? Or is it time for an evolution in that conclusion?
Go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say, and don't be afraid to break through that box. Like, just because, like you said, just because you feel like you're more of an intersectional feminism doesn't mean you have to believe every single past belief they've ever had.
And question things.
You question it, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to the whole critical thinking, learn how to be critical of what you read, which
Yes.
is in a social media time. I can assure you that that a lot of what we read on the internet, whether it's mainstream or not, it's a spin of some kind, right?
Yeah.
And it's not always completely factual, because there's always some really key points that they may have chosen not to include, which may have changed the way you've taken that in,
Yeah.
right? So critical thinking, and I guess that's, so shout out again to the teachers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because those
Yeah.
are skills that they're going to teach your children
Yeah.
We
to
hope.
be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they come home, then parents, ask those
talk.
tough questions.
Well, and
talk
talk
with
to
your
have a
kids.
conversation.
Yeah.
Open up those conversations, open up the dialogue, open up the teachable moments. You know what I mean? Because like learning doesn't stop at school.
Oh, no.
And these teachers have it super hard nowadays, where you're not just teaching, you're truly managing little people.
Yeah.
And then
And you're a psychologist.
Yes.
And you're
Yeah.
a nurse.
and
you're
you're, oh my goodness, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And but then when they come home, it really is about challenging those thoughts and challenging those perspectives. And I think when I think of like my mom's age group, like you were just told who you're supposed to be and you better be her, right?
Yeah.
Versus now where it's like you can totally choose whatever you want to be. And there's a plethora of things.
Reminds me, have you seen Crazy Rich Asians?
I haven't yet. I want to
No,
see
I
it.
haven't seen it. Is it
Yeah.
good?
So good.
Really?
Yeah. I was
yeah.
tweeting about it the other day because I
Yes.
was talking about how
Okay, I gotta go see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
it was so powerful, first of all, to see
Yeah.
a cast
Yeah.
that, that diverse and everything like that was
Isn't
amazing.
that the first all Asian
was.
cast?
25
the
years.
Joy Luck
Yeah,
Club.
25
Yeah.
years.
Long time.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Which was very cool. But there's going to be spoilers. Everyone, there's spoilers coming up, okay?
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready.
So, daughter-in-law is trying to convince mother-in-law to like her, to give her a chance, right? Which Tiger Mom is not having any of, okay? This is her son.
It's a
She's
turf.
not. Yes, exactly. The thing about Western culture versus Eastern culture, you can get into a fight with your mother-in-law over here. You can tell her what you think and it's not.
Yes.
Not
No.
over there.
Nope.
No, it's not
That's
actually.
dead.
She's not even the mother-in-law yet,
Yeah.
but she's the potential mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You don't even want to.
You don't want to mess with
bat an
that.
eye.
Yeah.
It's about the thing is it's about respect,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter how educated you are, how
No.
many letters you have after your name. That is his mother,
Mm-hmm.
and that respect is given no matter what. And it was fascinating to see that whole thing
love
play out
that.
on a modern screen, right? Which would
Right.
not, as opposed to like an Everybody Loves Raymond kind of scene, right? Where
Yeah.
everyone's
Right.
yelling and screaming and
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? But it was about that built-in respect that for elders that is just there in that culture, and I could feel that. It's just like, yeah, that's why I always have anxiety about critiquing people and especially
Yeah,
older
older
people
people,
and trying to be assertive in that space, because you're not taught that,
Yeah. No.
right? And it's a really interesting viewpoint that counters our current Western
Yeah.
society.
So that's
for
just
sure.
a really funny point. So Leonard Monkman, you know Leonard? Leonard, who's like CBC, he's like the indigenous, I think he's like an indigenous associate producer of CBC. He had written something on his Facebook the other day, and it was something along the lines that I know a lot of very, wonderful. It was about Islamophobia, it was about Browns, it was about my folks. Whatever, and then I sent him a message, and I love him. Like I'm just like, I love you. Like I feel like you always kind of push the boundary, but you do it so respectfully, and you're such a good voice for your people, and I just have so much respect for him. So I sent him a message, and I said, Leonard, like there's so many similarities between my culture and the indigenous culture, and there's a lot to do about respect for elders and how we treat certain groups of people, right? Like I mean, I to this day will not even squeak at a level to my mom or dad, and I just won't, you know. And basically, you know, they're with me. I ride or die for them, whatever they need, whatever they want. It's just, you know, like you lift them up so much, so their life is just fulfilled, right? And they're filled and they're loved and they're taken care of. But you know, he was saying some things, and me and him were just talking back and forth about it. But it was such a beautiful conversation, because at the end of it, we're like, how crazy is it that everyone just sees all of these differences, and we act like these differences are so big. But if you actually kind of strip down and paid more attention to the similarities, they like just supersede, like they are so much bigger. You know, because there's like maybe 5-6 differences, and we like listed off like 20 similarities.
I know.
Right? And those are the ones that matter.
Well, I think those core value things, right? Like even with a Caribbean culture, you know, and I can say like I wasn't the best child. I wasn't super respectful all the time, and I
actually was.
I'll be honest.
I actually was.
I was too.
I was not. I challenged my parents. I fought with my parents. I wasn't always respectful to my parents. And, you know, I wish, being a little bit older now, I wish that I hadn't always conducted myself that way.
Oh, yeah.
And I think looking at my, you know, my oldest nephew is 18. My youngest niece is 4 months, at 5 months. And, you know, I think looking at those differences, I'm like, wow, like you really have to shape and mold how they operate. Like you get to decide if your child will be a respectful child or not by what you impart in them, and some of those traditions and those old school values and how we were raised, and being able to say like, so you don't speak back, you don't do this, you don't whatever. And you know, I think when we were younger, those were definitely instilled.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it wasn't necessarily, sorry mom, it wasn't necessarily still facilitated, where it's like that's the expectation. And I think looking at, you know, this younger generation that's coming up, it really is about, again, that whole respect piece for yourself, but respect people for
Other people. Yeah,
like if you don't want to respect yourself, that's one thing, because you're going to have to own that one day. But when you look at other people, like at least make sure you respect other people.
Oh, yeah.
And I think just, again, to come full circle, it's all about that. It's all about saying like those values can still exist. It's a choice.
Yes, and I think that the difference too now is that when we were younger, your parents gave you an answer, and it's because I said so, right? You never challenged it.
Right.
Whereas my kids will say, well, why?
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, well,
I feel like
I don't know.
why.
So I have to say, so
This is
now,
why,
as a child of, you know, of immigrant parents, you feel like you have one foot in their world and one foot here, right? So it's very difficult to navigate. So I look at my kids now as, you know, fully, you know, born here, raised here.
Yeah.
How do I bridge that old generation with what they're going to be faced as this new generation, right? So I give them the why, and it's just like, okay, well, here's why, because I'm afraid of this and this and this. And again, it goes back to that education piece, right?
Yeah.
So here's why, here's what you need to know about that situation that could be unsafe, and here's why I don't feel it's appropriate for you at this age.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information for a 5 or 6-year-old or even 10-year-old, but I'm giving it to you in an age-appropriate way, and as we move on, as you get older, I'll explain to you more and more, and you'll understand more and more why the reason is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm willing to explain something that doesn't change my mind on it.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
this isn't a
That's a really good point.
conversation or a negotiation.
Yes.
Right?
I will give you the facts.
Yes, this is a backgrounder sheet on
Right,
my decision.
right. Here's the Coles Note version of how I got here. However,
You need a little refill there.
I feel like she
You've been drinking your. You've been
Rana?
drinking.
I was totally drinking that. I forgot.
It's okay. Fine. You like to share. But you
got a full glass now.
Cheers, girls. We're good. It's been
I think we got some more coming. I think we got some more coming.
Cheers.
Oh,
Good thing,
cheers.
everybody.
Cheers.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so yeah,
ladies.
you need to buy that bra.
Cheers.
Apparently I am.
Yes, I need to go
Yeah,
shopping.
so I think that if anyone's like me, like you're a little smaller and you need some good sizes, like Gravity is it. I walked in and they found me something in 5 minutes.
And what
It's
I
incredible.
love is that there's like super sexy and racy stuff here too. So I can't wait.
And
sports
you know,
bras.
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
oh, and what did we call this color?
Pistachio.
Pistachio.
Yeah.